Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells, and this is episode 199 on More Being and Less Doing with Scott St. Marie. Scott and I, in this episode, we talk about vulnerability in the unscripted, the desire to be understood in our mental health, the work of compassionate inquiry, and why we need to maybe focus on more being and less doing. Really loved this conversation. Both Scott and I were very vulnerable with each other. I even mentioned to Scott that I was triggered by some of his sort of early mental health videos and presence online, and that was a just fascinating conversation. Just really grateful for Scott for showing up and being so open-hearted and receptive, and just a beautiful, feely human. Really loved this chat. Before we get to the episode, though, just a reminder to please leave a rating and review for You, Me, Empathy in Apple Podcasts. It really does help out the show. As you can tell, we're at episode 199. Episode 200 is next week, a very special episode. I would still love to try to get to 200 ratings before we reach 200 episodes. So if you haven't even left a rating, you don't even need to leave a review. Just leave a rating. If you like the show, 5 stars. Be authentic. Be yourself. Reflect on what this show means to you. And thank you for doing that. The other thing I just wanted to mention, a couple of things. One is as some of you know, if you follow the show on Instagram at Yumi Empathy, my depression has been really bad and all over the place, and I've had brain fog and lightheadedness, and that's sort of part of it, and it's just a lot. And I recorded 2 episodes last week with people I admire deeply. Sarah Schaefer, who is a comedian and someone she's the best, and then Derek and Rachel of Your Favorite Heretics on Instagram. They're also the best, and I felt just off. I felt off my game. I felt not as present as I'd like to be because of my depression, and the thing about depression is it just takes you out of your body, it takes you out of yourself, and it also, I'd imagine, once I sort of go back to those episodes, I'm sure they're fine. But that thing, I'm showing up for the first time and I'm recording with these people I admire, and they're seeing me for the first time, and you just want to put your best foot forward, and I just felt like I didn't, and I'm feeling shame and I'm feeling sad about that, and it's just this whole spiral, and I don't like it, and I'm trying to be present. I'm trying to accept the fact that sometimes depression will make things harder, certainly. And the things that I want to keep doing, like this podcast, sometimes I'm just not going to be my whole self. Sometimes it's going to be harder, and just happened to be during those episodes. Hopefully Rachel and Derek and Sarah are open to maybe recording again in the future. That would be wonderful. Hopefully they didn't hate it. Anyways, I'm being hard on myself, but point is, lots of great episodes, potentially great episodes coming to you in the future. In addition to Scott and Rachel and Sarah, I've got Brett Newski and Ian Koss coming up, as well as some episodes that I have yet to record, but will be recording in the next couple months with Joshua Black, Jordan Scoville, Eric Zimmer, Sila Pinin, Che Tanchanko, butchered that last name, and some solo episodes. So look out for that. Lots of great episodes coming up. Last thing I wanted to say before we get to the episode with Scott is I shared online, both on Instagram at You Me Empathy and at Feely Human, a new journal called Dear Childhood Me. This is based on the sort of the inner child writing that I've been doing on online, and it's a 48-page journal. I'm really proud of it. It's designed by Courtney On, and written by me, and I love it. And I'm going to start sort of sending out emails about this journal to gauge interest from therapists, mental health organizations, folks like, people who do self-care boxes, things like that. So if you want to check that out, go to @FeelyHuman on Instagram, and you could check out the Dear Childhood Me journal. I shared a video of me showing the whole thing. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear if you're a therapist, if you're in the mental health space, if you'd be interested in buying some of these. Just gauging interest. Going to start sending out feeler emails soon. But check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments for that post on Instagram. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and learning and being open-hearted and being a Feely Human. I cherish you. You're not alone. Truly, you're not alone. We do this together, right? We can't do it alone, as much as America wants us to think that we should all do this stuff alone. It's not true. We need each other. So lean on each other. You have a safe space in me, in this podcast, and I'm proud of you. Let's get to the episode with Scott St. Marie, episode 199, on more being and less doing.
La la la, you, me, empathy, yeah, la la la.
Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight, so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being Feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I am an expression of gratitude because I'm here with podcaster, coach, keynote speaker, and founder of Depression to Expression, Scott St. Marie. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Noan, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you, friend?
I'm excited to be here. I am. I think we're going to have a really good conversation, and I have no idea where it's going to go. It's interesting how you invite guests on, and then you don't have an agenda. You're here just in the moment. You said I can already tell you're listening non-judgmentally and totally open to whatever is going to happen. And it's so interesting, as I myself and and you, I'm not sure about your full story, but ones who are sensitive deal with anxieties, normal, high, low. You would think you would need a plan for a podcast, and you'd want some structure to maybe know what's going to happen and what we're going to talk about and what's going to come out and how we're going to react to certain things that are said. But it's interesting with anxiety that there are some things where it all gets thrown out the window. With that kind of, with a diagnosis or something like that, we would think that in this scenario, this would be rather frightening for us. But just as public speaking, my knees would shake when I first started in high school and giving speeches in elementary school. I'd be just shaking, nervous, needing to throw up. And now I can do keynote talks and I'm still nervous. But since the topic is something that comes from a space that's eternally and internally ours, then you can't do any wrong.
Yeah.
It's not scripted. It's totally you. And that's vulnerable and that's anxiety provoking, but it's not. So it's just really cool how, like, when you do these podcasts, are you anxious at all to what would come out when you do them alone or have guests?
I always have like baseline low level anxiety, certainly. But I think you create a wonderful insight in that, because it's coming from this place of knowing and this place of, honoring myself and the deep passion I have for this work and how this work has healed me and transformed me and all of that. Like, it just feels good and rewarding, and, connecting with others has been sort of a crucial part of my healing journey. And you talk about empathy, right? Like, this show is about empathy. And I was thinking about just before this chat, in regards to like when I started the show and why I called it You, Me, Empathy. And I think a part of it was like, mental health is a scary thing, right? Like, we don't want to talk about it. We want to silence it. It's scary. It's vulnerable. And maybe I use the word empathy as sort of hey, that's a thing we know. That's like a human trait that we can sort of connect to, we can relate to. And maybe that's sort of like a window into this scary place. But it doesn't have to be scary, as you know. But yeah, I always have a little baseline anxiety before all of this. But ultimately, it's just about sort of honoring myself and the passion that I have in this world, right?
And it's amazing that it's hard to express that when you do talk about these things like anxiety, like depression. It doesn't make logical sense that by talking about it, it will make you feel even just slightly better, or it'll take some of the weight off. Because when you're in that moment, you're just like, nothing is going to help. What would opening my mouth and explaining to someone who isn't me and isn't in my space right now, like, how could that make any difference? And with the podcast and what you're doing, I think it's sending a message that, given the right audience and who you're sharing these things to, if I'm feeling depressed one day, depends who I share with. If it's going to make me feel a little lighter and float a little bit more and make existence less heavy, that depends. But I think that empathy piece is sharing the message that, okay, there are people out there that can understand. You've built a community around that. Obviously, there's people very similar to what I feel and what you feel. Like, absolutely. And the psychological needs of all of us, which are so primal and primitive and so basic, but today so hard to get, it seems, is that need to be loved and to belong and to be understood. And that's the tough one. To be understood is, you gotta, I feel for people, because it took me a long time to find people that like, oh, you get it. You get the despair, you get the, in the depths of depression, for me, the complete pointlessness of it all, this existential boom, just shock. What's the point? And when you meet people that have been through it, come out the other side, or even just still in it, to have that sense of understanding, you, me, empathy goes a long way.
Yeah, well, you, me, empathy comprises all of it, right? It's you, Scott. It's me. It's the force of empathy, which is a connecting force, and we need it. And I don't know about you, but I like lately, my depression is, so I have major depressive disorder. I'm clinically depressed. I have suicidal ideation often, and it's been really bad lately. And I'm reflecting on what you're saying in regards to sharing and being vulnerable and sort of sharing our stories. And sometimes, first, it takes discernment in regards to like who are the safe people in which we can share these things with, right? Because some people, and often early on, or at least, yeah, I guess early on in our journey, we discover that the people who maybe we think, quote unquote, should be the people who see us and understand us are not those people, right? And there's like grief and loss in that. I'm wondering if you related to that. But then we find our safe people, we start sharing, and sometimes I'm so low and I share and it may not feel better. I may not feel better, but I know, as you said, I know that there's someone out there who can be a mirror for me. There's someone out there who can maybe listen and relate to my story and find maybe a little bit of inspiration or hope or whatever they need in just sort of hearing about this guy who's struggling, right? And the only reason I can do that now is because I've, done 15 years of therapy and work and stumbling and failing and struggling. I thinking about sharing about this stuff in my 20s, like I'm grateful that social media wasn't a big force in my 20s, right? Like
right.
I feel lucky in that way. Do you relate to that?
Oh my gosh, a lot of it. Okay, so we have some empathy already. So, well, to the grief part of, I don't know if you've heard the definition. Depression, for me, the best way I've heard it described, and I'll just take it a step further for me, because people experience it in all different types of ways. People say it's like your whole world saturation is turned down. You're living in black and white. It's the heavy blanket. It's the black dog. And when I hear stories like that, I'm like, oh, fuck, I wish that's what it was, because I could live like that. But for me, in the depths of depression, it's like waking up every morning and you get a phone call and someone says, "Hey, Scott." I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Hey, everyone you know and love, family, friends, they're all dead. And you're completely alone in this world." And then you go about your day like that. Next morning you wake up, you get the same phone call and you live through that. That's depression for me.
Oof.
And that's the weight. So when we talk about people living with it or having to go to work, when I express that definition to people, they're like, whoa. So we have to have empathy for people, because people won't understand that degree,
Sure.
but people can understand grief and loss to a degree. Of course, we all can. So when you see someone, maybe who dealt with depression or is dealing with it, and you have that small insight, share, like, pretend like they just lost a family member. Pretend like they're grieving.
Yeah.
Depression is a sense of grieving that you're living in a world that is, but that shouldn't be. For me, at least.
Yeah.
So that's one piece of your story. And then you're finding people, right, that you thought should understand, but they don't. And then on top of depression, you're dealing with grief again, because you're like, oh, then I can't get support from them. So I got to find my new people. And that's more work for you again. So let's just say we could talk about it for hours. It's a complex thing for a human being to navigate. And a lot of us have to do it, not by choice, but to do it alone, right? Because of stigma, because of shame, because of guilt, judgment. So sorry, I cut you off there. What were you going to say there?
No, I was wanting to chime in and I was cutting you off. I think you're absolutely right. What I was thinking about and hearing you say that, I was thinking about me. So let's say I'm someone who doesn't have depression, and I'm trying to relate and connect to you, Scott, as someone who just described depression as this thing that is horrifying, right? Like getting that phone call every morning. And I do, me personally do relate to that.
Okay.
But let's say I'm someone who doesn't. I do think the work of empathy, I say this a lot. I do empathy workshops. The work of empathy it's not just about the shoes, right? Like I don't have to have the same exact experience to go there in empathy with you and to sort of pave that path to you toward compassion and empathy. I can go there because I'm a human person who's experienced loss, who's maybe experienced depression, but who's someone who can feel low or sad or whatever. And yes, those things aren't exactly the experience you've had, but I can still sort of do the work of being there for someone and being witness to them. Because really, empathy is about meeting people where they are. It's not necessarily about understanding. It's not moralizing. It's not trying to persuade or help necessarily. It's about being witness to someone exactly at the point at where they are at, and allowing for them to be a mirror, right? Be a reflection point, acknowledge that you're listening and that you're there and you care and you love them, right? Like that is empathy to me. And that is a force that has certainly been challenged in my life, especially the last couple of years, in regards to like living in a pandemic and like seeing very clearly human behavior that feels like antithesis to like what is my core, and like feeling scathed by that, but wanting to like lead with empathy and assume positive intent, right?
Yeah.
That's just an example of how it's a challenge, right?
I think that's great, because if it were, let me backtrack to what I said. If we have empathy as you can only be empathetic if you had a similar experience or the exact experience, your sense of empathy could absolutely be wrong. So my sense of empathy can be wrong if I see someone, I don't know, bad example here, someone on the street, and I put myself in their shoes and I'm like, okay, if I were in their position, I would feel this. Meanwhile, that person could be happier than I am at that moment. Yep. So empathy can be wrong. I don't know and I don't understand what that's like. So, and then I try to fill the gaps with my experience. So that I really appreciate your definition there. That makes a lot of sense. And just your comment on the pandemic, man. Oh gosh. Did you get a sense of, you said the antithesis. Did you ever want to shake people and grab people and kind of do one of these, like wake up?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Anger. There must be anger there.
Sure. But, to go back to what you were saying, empathy is about shedding what we learned yesterday. It's about abandoning our bias, abandoning the preconceptions we sort of discern about a certain identity or group of people, right? Like I live here in the States, and Trump was a president for a time, right? And a person who voted for Trump is a large majority of this society, right? And I have to, as a human person who leads with empathy and compassion and kindness, has to reckon with that as I don't want to live in a vacuum, right? I don't want to not be challenged in my empathy and not be challenged in my perspective. I think the goal of being a human is to be challenged always. And so I have to do the internal work in order to maybe show up in those spaces, to do the external work. But it's hard for sure. I'm a human. Yeah. I wanted to shake and I wanted to rail and I wanted to throw eggs, whatever. I'm a human. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in groups that I've in workshops and my online community, like there's Trump supporters all over the place. What am I going to do? Oh, you're dealing with depression and you want my help, but you voted for a guy and sorry, no
Right.
dice. Come
Right.
on. It's amazing that you say you say it's hard and you want to challenge yourself. Part of being human is being challenged every day. And then sometimes in my life, I'm like, there's a lyric by oh my gosh, Bruce Cockburn. There's a song called Pacing the Cage. I'm a big music dude. And he says, or he sings, and I'm gonna sing it for you. Let's get cringy. Sometimes it feels like you've lived too long. And I'm just like, that lyric hits me so hard. Sometimes it feels like for people maybe with depression, anxiety, a type of mental illness or mood disorder, feels like you've been challenged enough already. It's like, when's enough enough? I'm, 32 and I've lived long enough. I've lived hard enough. I've lived too much. Do you know what I mean? And I wonder if you've ever got that sense of, yes, it's about being challenged every day. And known, yeah, hell yeah, you've probably been challenged every day, every moment through your journey. And you ever get the sense, you ever get that thought where it's just like, enough with the challenges?
Yeah, of course I do. I think that's an important recognition as a human. I think when I say like you got to be challenged every day, I don't mean it in the sense of like there's a silver lining in everything. I don't mean it in the sort of like toxic positivity way. I mean it in the like, I as a human, I guess we as humans, right? Like we operate and we live in the world and we pick up knowledge and we grow ourselves and we find ourselves in ruts and we find ourselves on certain paths, right? And those paths can sort of lead us into a certain echo chambers of like belief systems and ideas and and that's the safe people, right, that we talked about before, and those people feel great, but also we need to be challenged because we get intellectually lazy or emotionally lazy, etc., right? That's one piece. The other piece, of course, like we have to fucking rest. We have to like take pause. Living is hard. Living is exhausting. Living with depression is fucking exhausting, right? Being someone who's dealt with childhood trauma, that's exhausting, right? All these things. And it's all relative as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
people have it worse. Doesn't take away from my experience, right? But like, I'm also a white cisgendered man living in the world, right? I have an immense amount of privilege. So that's a piece of the intersectionality of humanity that I need to take into consideration, not to discount or to ignore my pain, because that's valid, but to honor it in a way that's taking into account all of the nuance of what it means to be human.
I love that. And you said just that pain being relative is hard to take in with when we talked about a few things before you hit record about kind of the advocacy and what goes on social media and stuff, and 3 tips to beat depression and 10 ways to increase dopamine, blah 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 blah. And then you get a sense that maybe it's not all relative. Like if we the readers do these things, then we as the consumers of this one Medium article, of this one post on the Mighty, whatever it is, if we follow these things, then that must mean that, maybe our pain's the same and maybe this solution is the same. I think there's so much so much good that's come out of social media and these things. But when I think of that as people not owning their own authentic experience and thinking that maybe there's a one size fits all with these kind of regimes and these tips and hacks for life, and thinking that there's an ultimate end.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that, actually. An ultimate end to suffering. Like there is, but there isn't at the same time. Like life is suffering to a degree. If we listen to His Holiness. So I wonder about that. If people are looking for an end, they follow something on social media because they think this pain is so common. So if I do it, then I'm going to feel better. And then what happens is they might not feel better. And then there's more maybe shame and guilt that I did something wrong. This was supposed to work. I put in the effort. This is the 10th thing I've tried. And it feels like I'm back at square one.
Yeah.
I feel like this could be almost a cyclical thing for people as they consume this kind of content that we see and kind of get stuck in a trap. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's challenging, and I think that it's, as I sort of thought about this conversation, I like I said before, I don't do much like preparation or research, but I watched a couple of your like videos and listened to snippets of some of your podcasts, etc. And I got the sense from you that, and this is sort of me sort of like, I guess, being open and vulnerable and speaking plainly with you, Scott. Mm-hmm. I felt a little bit triggered by your presence online. And by that, I mean, I mentioned before, I have this derision / skepticism toward that sort of social mediaized sort of take on improvement and wellness, right? And I think that's coming from a valid place because there's a lot of bypassing that's happening, and there's a lot of victim blaming that's happening, and it's steeped in white supremacy and all these things that are valid concerns. And I wonder if I'm throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Because to your point, I do think a lot of people get a lot out of it, and it is important, and I do want to move the needle, and I want to change hearts, right? And I sometimes wonder if I'm sort of stepping on my own progress or toes by sort of like being so, fuck capitalism, like fuck the system, like just, be feely, silly, weird, people. Like I wonder if, because I admire what you have done as a 32?
Yeah.
You've made a wonderful impact on the world, and it's inspiring. And I am triggered by it in that way, mm-hmm. because I've come from this place of like I don't want to buy into it. And I'm not saying you have or whatever, but it just like my sense of it was that, yeah, you have this, am I making sense? I'm like all over the place, but like, what are your thoughts as I'm railing against everything?
I love how you brought that up, and we're so honest. Because the way we talk about emotional health can't stay the same as we go through our own journey. The way you would have talked about emotional health when you were 20 has changed till now. The more you learn, the more you experience.
True.
And clients of mine and me, myself as my own client, and I have my own teacher and mentor, I cringe when I look at past videos. I deleted 400, 500 videos, and the ones that are up are less cringy, but still cringe. Podcast episodes, there's ego beyond belief, and there's cringe, and there's a motivational speaker there in need of validation and attention. And I see that so clearly. And my latest journey was getting off of antidepressants. And I see someone so what is it? So in need of making an impact at all costs, and so into the YouTube algorithm, because I've been on YouTube since 2013, and just to continue to want to move and improve and views and clients and all of that takes its toll. So the way I see mental health, I don't even use the word, I use emotional health. I don't even say mental health anymore. I don't see depression in the same way as I used to. I don't see anxiety in the same way I used to. I don't see pharmaceuticals in the same way I used to. So much has changed over the past year Like, how can you escape a pandemic without changing something? So I'm glad
True.
you brought that up. I have to recognize that by seeing myself as cringe in the past is a response. I could grieve about it, and it is a sense of loss of self, but it's also saying, well, if we didn't cringe at our past selves and we just thought everything was awesome that we ever did, it would mean, well, I didn't grow for shit. I'm the exact same dude I was in high school. Oh, that kind of sucks. So I'm glad I'm cringing, which means I'm learning so much and I'm better able to help myself and understand others on a deeper way, more listening, less telling, more feeling, and less almost doing. More being and less doing. So the journey within the last 2 years for me has been an absolutely beautiful existential mess. And it's
I'm
pretty
grateful.
cool that you brought that up. So yeah, I haven't uploaded a video in months and months. I stopped my podcast because I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to share something new. I don't know how to explain what I've been through the last few years. And I don't know how to necessarily talk about emotional health anymore. And I don't know what the world wants from me, but fuck the world. I don't know what I want to bring to it. And what is necessary for me to share that could be resourceful or useful to people. And this new part that is emerging and that has emerged will trigger people too. And we'll lose people that way, but more people will come. And my old stuff, people still love and enjoy, but I don't. Right. So you can only win, that I've learned here. You can only win by tapping into a deep sense of authenticity. And what hit me the hardest is I had no idea who I was. And I'm finally recognizing, who Scott actually is and what he wants to do and what he wants to say, who he wants to be, where he wants to go with this whole mental health stuff. Maybe ditch it all together.
Yeah.
I'm on that journey.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the honesty and vulnerability. And I just want to be clear that I didn't bring it up from a place of shame. It was just a honest reflection. And I was getting goosebumps listening to you because it's such a beautiful response and reframe and reflection on what is something we should all sort of be reflecting on in regards to our growth and our paths, right? Because I look back at like the stuff that I did before I really started digging into this sort of like self-awareness work. I was a fucking shit. Like I was,
Right.
I was deeply lost, deeply damaged, a drunk, like all this stuff. And I am so grateful that I've sort of worked through that stuff. And I'm grateful to hear that you're taking time to pause and reflect on that stuff. I think it's deeply courageous. And I guess my question to you, in that vein is like, how has the past, I guess, year been being off social media, being off the podcast? Like, what is one thing that you found about yourself that feels good and authentic, or are you still sort of in the discovery zone?
That's a great question. And you took a break too, right? You said you took a month off when I asked about your podcast. So I'll have the same question. I'll have the same question for you. Since I'd been on YouTube since 2013, and I think I had about 1,000 videos up since then.
Wow.
And deleted the vast majority. Which is, and then I'd go in my mind, I'm like, shit, what a waste. But obviously not. But I really pay attention to how much energy that took up in my mind every day of, I think about this, I experience this, that could be a video. I said this to that person. I had that encounter. That could be a video. I had that thought. That thought went to that thought. That thought went to that thought. I could describe that in a video, and I would then picture myself in front of the camera explaining this, and I'd go there in my mind before I even recorded something. So the amount of brain space it took up, and that was just YouTube. Instagram was a whole other thing of what story do I need to share? Do I respond to comments? What's the use of responding to a comment if there's no real monetary gain for me and it's sucking the life and time out of me? I don't have time for that. And through all of that, since 2013 to 2018, I was working full-time jobs too. I was working in social media advertising at Twitter and a social media agency, which was awesome, called Ad Parlor. And then I was doing YouTube too. And I really burnt out in 2020. It was a complete burnout, which I'm still recovering from, and it's been over a year. So taking a break from that wasn't a want. I needed to. And now, no, I can't even. I uploaded a picture yesterday and on Instagram as this Scott with hair now, and my buddies are just like, "Holy shit, who is this guy?" It's so funny because I don't feel like the same person as the last photo I took. But I download Instagram, I upload the photo, I delete Instagram. That's how I have to do things right now. At least I don't have the YouTube app on my phone. I don't have the Facebook app anymore. And I haven't uploaded a podcast episode. I remember feeling like when I stopped, and it feels pretty normal now to not post stuff, that moments unfold just for me, that I don't need to share them. Because when we share something right away, we lose some of it. We give the power away. And it's interesting when you experience something and you just soak it in for you. And to be honest, that was an anxious experience at first, a fearful experience. It felt selfish. I'm like, I gotta show somebody. This is amazing. Scott, what do you think of this? This is great. Okay, is that enough? I think that's enough. Shit. So it took a while, but it was a much needed break. And I can say this for certain, I cannot go back to the way it was with having an app on my phone like that. Can't. Yeah. So you took a month off, right?
I did. And I'll reflect on that in a sec, but I just wanted to give you the credit because it is hard, and it is like these systems, social media, etc., are addictive. They sort of like pull on our baser needs, our base need for validation, external validation, right? And likes and all this stuff. It's like deeply ingrained in our psychology, right? So boundaries with these things are so crucial. So I'm grateful that you found that for yourself. For me, it was, I deeply love doing this work and this podcast, and I'm sort of, Feely Human is sort of an experiment, and I'm trying to grow that. And I have to sort of day in, day out check in on my why. Like, why am I doing this thing? Does it still feel meaningful? Does it still feel like it's my passion? Is it still filling my bucket, right? I have a fear of the thing that I'm most passionate about becoming a burden, right? And I think that happens a lot in our world. Like, we get so sort of laser focused to the point of just deep imbalance and unhealth. And we're just, we're looking at numbers, and we're looking at likes, and we're looking at analytics and all this stuff. And yes, your realization in regards to we need to have experiences for self, is so important in this work, in this space, because you're right. We're just bypassing any sort of work that we're doing. If I'm experiencing a thing, I should be able to process that with myself in a journal, writing down, whatever in my own head before I'm sharing it to the world. I think that's, but that's not how it's built, right? That's not how it's fueled. And so taking breaks, taking pause from these things is crucial. And there was even a time where I was on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm just like, fuck all that. I'm on Instagram. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes. But ultimately, I want to just create my own community off of social media completely, right? Because it doesn't serve small sort of business, solopreneurs, people who are freelancers who are just like have their own small businesses. It doesn't serve those people,
Right.
And so I think recognizing it for what it is important, taking pause, taking breaks for what it is. And the break from the podcast was simply I needed some rest. I wanted to not record. I wanted to not release new episodes, and it felt great and it was easy. And I think a number of years ago it would have been like a more anxious affair, but I told myself my audience will still be here, and if they go away, that's okay too, right?
Right.
This
Yes,
thing's for me. So
Yeah.
it feels good.
That's see, that's the self-awareness that you have, and to be okay with that, to be like, I need to rest. And if the audience stays, awesome. If they go, awesome. But this is what I need to keep the, emotions regulated. And I didn't have that self-awareness at all. So when I quit my job in advertising and started my business, there was I can't take a break. Like, it was all day, every day, a million things to do. Let's go on YouTube, and then let's join a public speaking organization. Then let's become a keynote speaker. Let's do conferences. Then let's do more YouTube. Then let's do coaching certifications and mindfulness certifications. And then let's become a coach and get clients. And then let's start a podcast, get guests. And I have 0 employees. And now then I came to, through my Zen teacher, we do what's called focusing. Have you ever done something like that?
I don't think so. Tell me about it.
Oh man. I'm going to, after my pause, when I feel like I'm ready to get back, I'm going to be doing my focusing certification. And what it is if you're, let's say, in a therapy session or talking to a friend, and you ask, so I don't know, why do you feel anxious right now? And they're like, because the cashier, they looked at me and they had a thing and they had this look, and then I got anxious. I was triggered. It's like, okay, so focusing is, let's take that scenario. Let's take a few deep breaths. Let's close our eyes and let's go back and let's get a felt sense here of what's happening in our bodies. And what the best part about this is something that I never learned how to do, was compassionate inquiry. With looking at, even right now, talking about depression, anxiety, our experiences, there's so much shame and like, fuck, man, come on. I got money. I got a condo. I got friends. You piece of shit. You're depressed. Suck it up. Go exercise and have a vitamin, bitch. So that's where my mind goes. But compassionate inquiry is like, let's go back to the cashier example. Look at this example with interest, with non-judgment for how you would react in that moment, and with compassion, and look into that and just walk yourself through it. And now talk about how you felt, as anxiety is somewhat of a blanket term there. Like what felt sense did you have, and what else came up? And through that focusing, which I'm doing twice a week now with my teacher for the last 6 months, that's where authenticity comes from, and us knowing our own stories. And those people have the trigger. We say we get triggered. They got the trigger. Well, we have the ammunition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So understanding our ammunition and what blows up, that's a huge sense of then just understanding. And understanding myself and my experience takes the power away from them. And through that compassionate lens of focusing, I would say relieves quite a few of those symptoms. Doesn't get rid of them, but relieves it enough to to not beat myself up over it, right? And that's unfortunately for me, it's a common thing. Like, come on, depression, what are you so sad about, asshole? Like, what's wrong with you? I'm worthless.
Yeah.
It's all pointless. Nobody loves me. I'm not lovable because of what happened. Okay. With interesting compassion, with non-judgment, like pretending you're a friend. And we do visualizations. I'm doing that with some clients. And you just go in and you sit at a park bench in your mind, and a best friend holds you with compassion and asks you, with no judgment, how are you? And you can do that within yourself. And part of focusing is, let's say, a depressive part of us that feels like it's all pointless. Okay. If we focus on that and we go in, a part of my practice now, which I think is one thing that I like to share when I do get back in the online world, maybe in 2025, who knows, is this idea of, which it, I know you probably do, but I didn't, which cringes me out that you didn't know that back then. God damn, that there's so many parts to ourselves. And when I say I'm worthless, it's not I am, it's part of me believes that I'm worthless. And when we focus in, we see ourselves and that one part of us speaking, and we acknowledge that. But we can guide our attention gently and compassionately to, let's listen to the compassionate lens around that part of, okay, let's acknowledge it's there. Let's see that it's there. Let's say hi that it's there. It's not CBT where we want to get rid of it and we want to, exchange it with other thoughts that are more accurate. We can do that too, absolutely. But for me, the analytical would always go bonkers. It was, for me, in my experience, it's about getting a felt sense of what does it feel like to have that worthless feeling, and tap into it. And where are the other parts that don't agree? And what is that felt sense? What does that tap into? Where does that come from? Where does that lead? But it's not analytical. This all comes from the subconscious, and we have answers that come out of nowhere. So it's been a really cool experience that I'd like to share with others. I don't know how we got onto that. I rambled, but
I love it.
Yeah, if that sounds interesting, you can look into it. Your listeners can as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. It sounds really profound, and it's what comes up for me is one truth that I know, which is the stuff we hold in our physical bodies, right? And we hold so much, right?
Yeah.
The Body Keeps the Score. Have you read that book?
No.
Please do. It's wonderful. It's by Bessel van der Kolk, and it's about how we hold trauma in our bodies.
Right.
And he was a guy who started in EMDR therapy in the 70s with post-Vietnam War vets, and then has just been working on trauma-informed therapy and even, dipping into psychedelics and stuff, for 40 years. But it's wonderful. Anyway, so the body piece is something that I think about a lot. And what I love about what you're describing is it's learning to pay attention to the cues, right? And we all have cues, right? And we all have our triggers, and learning what it feels like in the body, and learning that it's not going to kill us, that it's not going to be the end of us, right? And also, to your point, and it's so important, is the depression or the anxiety, whatever it may be, is just a part of us, right? It's not all of us, but when we're in, often when we're in those phases of deep, dark depression or anxiety or whatever, it feels like it's the whole world, right? So having a practice like that, all consuming. So having a practice like that sort of is a mantra, or is this sort of intentional practice of like taking a step back. Let's be mindful about this exploration and see how it feels. I think is a beautiful practice. I love it. That sounds wonderful. Yeah.
And sometimes, with depression, let's say, when we can't get up to exercise and bench 300 pounds yet, like the normal gym routine, it helps if you're even lying down and you can do that, and or sit down and develop that practice of, it's a good visualization piece. You go into a safe space of in your mind, and it can be right where you are in that moment too. If you're safe there in bed or wherever it is, and you close your eyes and you pretend that you're in a figment of your imagination, whether he or she exists, a best friend right there beside you and just holding you. I think what's changed for me when helping people with depression and myself is, along with very, very helpful nutritional protocols for me that have done a tremendous benefit. It's that compassion piece that was missing the whole time. And it takes so much work for me. It takes a lot of work. That muscle has not been used, man, because I didn't understand why I would ever grant myself love if I fucked up. You make a mistake. Come on. You made a mistake. You suck. That means you suck.
Yeah.
So that's a muscle. People with dealing with depression and myself, it's one that just needs a little bit of working out slowly. You don't go to the gym and lift 100. You go there with a 2.5 pounder that your mom uses, and start slow.
Yeah. You go to the gym. I go frolicking in the wilderness. That's my exercise. But
I love it.
Yeah. So in regards to this sort of like this self-compassion work that you're doing, and I'm wondering, like, how were you as a kid? Was this sort of like level of sort of self scrutiny like present when you were a kiddo?
No, it wasn't. But I have a big family, 3 older brothers and a younger sister. So not that I can remember of specific instances of feeling of competition and needing to do right and match their abilities. We all had incredible abilities, but there could have been a sense of, I need to prove myself and I need to get the attention and I need to be the one to lift others up. Through high school, elementary school, university, my role was the entertainer. So when I say burnout to you, Noan, I'm like, burnout's been coming.
Yeah.
Like, it's that candle, man, burn bright, but quickly. So it's been coming. And part of me, the work for me is admitting that I need to do work. Like,
don't we all?
Yes, but some don't need to put in as much work into the psyche as others. Sometimes if people have some kind of event that bothers them, they can kind of jump back. Other people need to do a little bit of digging, takes a while to get over it. We need to know why, we need to learn from it.
Sure.
That's just human beings, evolving and growing at a different pace and what feels right for them. So my work there is, okay, let's admit to myself that I can't go at a pace that I used to, that I thought I could. That's not me. That's not authentically me to put out videos every day, episodes every day, client calls every day, put out 100 emails, whatever it is, and be the jester at all times. I don't want to be on stage.
That's not your value.
That is not it. I love that. I want to be on stage when I want to be, and I want to make people laugh when I want that, but then I can sit down and enjoy. So the difference there is, being forced to out of some kind of neurotic tension in behavior and needing to please and needing to, have that attention because it feels good, but now having the choice of when I need that for me. Yeah. And that's a big difference, right? There was a video I saw, and this is years old, but I only saw it like a month ago. Yay, YouTube algorithm. It was Jim Carrey, but his spiritual teacher, something Foster, said depression is like, you can say it, depressed deep rest, where you need deep rest, where it's your body saying, fuck the character you've been playing. I don't want to play that person anymore. And I want that character to rest and let something else emerge. And that spoke to me so much, because I'm like, that character can rest and it can be resurrected if that was authentically me, or parts of it want to come back. Right.
Yeah.
And I can pick and choose of what to bring to the present that was working, but something else needs to emerge. And I think a lot of people experience this, and sometimes it comes through trauma and pain. Sometimes it comes through job loss or travel or mental illness. It doesn't matter. But I think all of us have a point in time. And I don't know about you, if you had a specific moment in time where you're like, gotta let go of certain things that don't serve me and let something else emerge out of something. And just the unknown is killer, but let it happen and be still. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the great work that I'm working toward, and my friend Danae Selkin reminds me of this. She's such a profound teacher, is to be removed from expectations completely. That's sort of the aim. And I think that will be a lifelong journey. But what I want to give you, Scott, and maybe you're already sort of thinking about this in your own practice and your healing, which is, there is no timeline, right? Like I know, like, part of this sort of this carnival that we all sign up for, to be human and to operate in the human race and to use money and feed our bodies and all this stuff. It's a bit of a farce at times, right? And I think we buy into a lot of it. And part of that is that we feel like we feel pressure to be on a timeline. I should be doing this thing at a certain time. I'm 40. What does it mean? You know, all this stuff. There is no timeline. Like, let's abandon ourselves of like timelines, right? Like, there's no, like, we all have a path to travel. And I think sort of putting pressure on ourselves to like achieve something by this year or this time or whatever is just going to lead to more pain and suffering. And I think, yeah, to your point, just more allowing, more expanding, more curiosity. It's funny when you described like what your definition of depression is, which is very profound. The one that I used to go to, and I'm still sort of like trying to figure out if it's still true for me, but is this: curiosity, or depression is a lack of curiosity. So curiosity for me is a force that is very important in my life. It's helped in my healing. It helps in my empathy work. It's about it. I think it's very similar to the work you're doing in regards to focusing, right? It's about like, let's take a pause and explore, and like, let's see what's going on here, right? Let's not jump into it with armor on, right? And with a sword in our hand. Let's remove ourselves of all of that and just like see where it goes, right? And that is scary and that is uncomfortable. And I think that's ultimately the work.
I think the curiosity piece, because that's the compassionate inquiry. That's kind of it. Like inquire, be curious, but without judgment. And that's the difficult part, right? I wonder why by 35 I don't have this, you piece of shit. Like, no, don't go there, don't go there. So I love the curious piece. I did that. Now I look at it and cringe, but there is some good stuff. That TEDx talk I did called Why You Should Question Everything. Like, I'm all about curiosity, because that curiosity got me to actually seek help for what I was feeling at the time. It's like, what is this thing? What? Yeah. Oh my God, life seems so big all of a sudden. Oh my God. So I totally agree with that. Yeah. So was there a time for you where, was there any kind of, I don't know, like emergence or aha moment for, I don't know, seeking help, finding authentic known, anything like that? Was there a moment in time?
Yeah, so the one I talk about a lot was I was 22 and I was very much sick. I battled anorexia for about 15 years. And the doctor essentially said, your heart's going to stop unless you do something. I was very, very sick, very, very much in a lot of pain, physically and emotionally. That was a big wake-up call. That certainly didn't like, oh, you're cured of anorexia or whatever work you need to do. But it did sort of like light a small flame in me. I think it was the reminder that like, oh, I think I still want to live. I think that was sort of the response to that. That was a big one. And then I think I experienced little ones all the time, and I think that's just a result of like the connection piece that we were talking about earlier. I think the beauty of connection is that we grow in connection with others, right? Mm-hmm. If we're curious and we can sort of let down our guard enough and lead with our hearts enough, we're just going to like always be learning if we're sort of showing up in connection like that, right? And I think that's something I've learned to sort of like hone as a tool in my toolbox. So I think to your question, I think it's a lot of little moments along the way. I mean, certainly meeting my wife Jessica and her sort of forcing me to go to therapy, that was one. Getting sober 10 months ago, that was one.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. Good
Thank you. So like a lot of little ones, like, yeah.
And you call that a little one? Come on now.
I mean, it's all relative, right? Like it's all relative. Yeah. And you're clearly experiencing one now, right? A big one, a massive one, life-changing.
The biggest. This is the biggest. I debated even emailing you last week because I'm like, shit, do I want to, is it ready? Am I ready to talk? Because I've just been listening. The last year, I've just been listening to old people, actually, because there was no.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I am an old person.
No. I'm not. No, I'm talking people in their 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Because what I was experiencing was very existential, and I just, again, the felt sense of that work I was doing was I didn't need a 30-year-old psychologist or psychiatrist. I didn't need a 50-year-old. I needed someone who's just been through a lot, who knew, who could just, I had so many people who just holding me this last year and a bit. And that's what's really changed about my perspective, because it helped me so much, is in bouts of existential depression and just clinical depression, there's a lot of to-dos. There's a lot of, okay, do that. But being so forceful in that approach is almost negative energy. And what I offer to people without telling them about diet and all that stuff, that can come way later. It's just me and my good friend, Matt Janes, who's the neuroscientist and helped me a lot this year, was we just walk with people. I just walk with people on their journey. If they need to be held, you hold them. Because in those depths, you just need someone in the pit with you when you don't have energy to climb out. So I think a lot of people in those depths, you can't walk alone. You can't sit alone. You need people in your corner. And that's you, me, empathy right there, man. It's like, I will sit with you for as long as it takes. And you said the timeline thing, which struck a chord with me, bro. Like people, there's no timeline, Scott. You lose subscribers, you lose YouTube money. You got money in the bank. Okay, don't work. You got time. Take the time. And along with like physical illness too, like I wasn't able to walk and I wasn't able to move and all this stuff, adrenal fatigue and herniated discs. It was quite the journey. So anyways, I was debating coming on here and expressing even some of this, but it feels right because it's with you. As if you can take that for what it's worth, it does feel like a good thing for me, as this is kind of the first conversation back into the emotional health realm.
Yeah.
And just to let you know too, you're talking about your pause just from the podcast and stuff. And it's like, no wonder we need it, because this is really heavy work.
Mm-hmm.
Like
we need boundaries.
Like the heaviest.
Yeah.
Like what? Like not the heavy. Okay, it's all relative, but this is like emotionally heavy stuff. So to have that awareness like you do, like, good on you. It's heavy. So aside from breaks, I never want you to reflect on what I say, which is why I ask you a question right after.
I've noticed this of you. This is a tactic, very strategic tactic.
Yeah, I don't want the attention, but I do. I don't know what's going on. Do you want to reflect on anything that I said there?
Well,
No.
I was just going to say, yes, this is hard work, and it has to come with boundaries. I always say empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. Like we will just destruct because we're sensitive people. We take on a lot, right? This is just our way of living life. We have to have boundaries. And so I talk with people all the time who have gone through similar experiences of you, Scott, which is just burnout and just, ending up in the hospital because there's no boundaries. There's maybe a lack of self-awareness, etc. Right. But yeah, it's hard and it's meaningful, and we have to take breaks, and we have to have boundaries, and we have to go inward before we go outward. Right. Like that's another thing I say all the time. Like we have to, like, you caring for yourself, Scott, is going to make you a better caretaker for others.
Yeah. It's the Joseph Campbell's. It's the hero's journey, really. You've done that many times. I've done it, but this one is a much larger circle in that hero's journey. But I have definitely at least a bottle of elixir to bring back from hell and share with people. But it's just when to share it. And I think I've realized for me, there's always part of me that never feels ready. There's always going to be that part that's always reluctant to not go, to stay, to avoid change. That's always there. But to then focus and listen on, okay, but I think you're ready enough, to take a baby step in. So I really appreciate this conversation and you having me on.
Yeah, I'm grateful that you did and made the decision to do it. And be proud of yourself for doing it too. It takes courage to sort of relay that type of vulnerability. And, truly, like this is what this show is for, is to meet people exactly where they are, right? That's the work of empathy. And take as long as you need. As you said, take as long as you need. We'll still be here. Hearts will still be here, right? Like, you do you. Like that's the most important piece of this.
Yeah. Well, the journey's never over, but man, it's been a journey. It really has been. Gosh, let's think of so many stories too, especially during the pandemic of lockdowns, depending on what country you're from too. Mm-hmm. I talked to people from Australia, and that's been incredibly difficult. Even Canada and Toronto, where I am, we've had some of the worst lockdowns in the world. And it's like people have, I'll say the word, like people have really suffered because of the restrictions with mental health. So to express where I'm at right now, it's in a place of definitely of the unknown of when restrictions, there's vaccine passports and stuff here now, but I want to travel and I need to see some sunshine because I can't go through another winter like I did last year. I need a change. I need to surf. And I think my body's ready for movement. So I was looking at Costa Rica, and I was looking at even Argentina, going way south. I was looking at Mexico and Sayulita, and I have some friends in California, maybe California, right? So I'm, we talked about, leading with letting your heart lead,
Mm-hmm.
doing it like always, but then to also have a bit of a plan for me. And then if the plan doesn't go through, at least I had a plan, at least I had some kind of structure. So that's where I'm at. Where do I want to go? Because as you said, no timelines, man, no timelines. Too many timelines in the offices and all of that stuff, and looking at calendars. Oh my God.
Well, and you said baby steps earlier. Baby steps, right? That's what it is. One day at a time. Yeah.
One day at a time.
And if you do come to California, I would love to surf with you. I surfed, I don't know, for about 20 years, and then I stopped for 20 years,
What?
and I'm just getting back into it a little bit, and it's fun. I love it. So yeah,
Baby steps. Oh
Baby
man,
steps.
I've only been surfing about, I think, 4 times.
Oh, okay.
And when I, you know the story, man. When I rode my first wave, I'm hooked forever. And everywhere I travel, I'm like, is there surf? Is it by the water? So like,
Well, talk about a force that reminds you to let go, right? Which is the ocean, right? It's like this powerful, mysterious force that just like, you don't have control here.
Yeah.
Allow it to be. Yeah.
And it's because the wave can absolutely kill you and tumble you and suck you in, or you can ride that baby to shore. It's like the power is there either way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cool that you're riding this unbelievable, I don't know, energy of just pure power,
Yeah.
pure confidence. It's just like, what a feeling, man. So that's really great. You did that for 20 years. So you can carve, though. You can go up and down.
I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I didn't do it I wasn't a dedicated surfer. I did enjoy it for a long time. Mostly I skateboarded. Skateboarding was my thing for a long time. I'm 40 now, can't do much of that anymore. I mean, I'm sure I can still do some stuff, but knees and back and all that stuff as old people talk about, But I love being out in the water, and I've recently gone back into the water, and it's been delightful.
That's great. You look amazing for 40, dude. Looking healthy. Like, my gosh. So whatever you're doing, keep it up. If I could ask you, I don't know what time do we have here? Okay, do you usually end these episodes with any kind of tradition or?
I do. Yeah. I was going to start transitioning us out. We end with empathy heroes. We talk about our empathy heroes. So you want to go there?
Wow. Yeah.
All right.
Well, you're on the list now.
Well, let me name my empathy hero first. I'll give you a second to think about yours. How does that
Sure.
sound?
I love it.
All right. So my empathy hero this week, everyone, is this new, speaking of YouTube, this new YouTube guy named FD Signifier, who I watched this video. I'm not big on YouTube. Again, I'm 40, so I'm not there often, but someone sent me this video, and the video is called Bo Burnham's Inside and White Liberal Performative Art. It's this guy, FD Signifier, liked the video, he appreciated it, and he had some very wonderful, insightful perspective on white liberal performative art, in regards to are we being performative in our allyship, and are we being performative in our quote unquote wokeness? Just some really good nuggets to think on. I think it's a very compassionate, important perspective. And I wanted to shout out FD Signifier because I don't shout out YouTube people very often, and I highly recommend that video. I will link it in the show notes. That's my empathy hero this week. How about you?
Well, this wouldn't be anyone knows.
That's okay.
Her name is Jess. I've known her, oh my gosh, since high school, but Jess and I hung out with different crowds. and we never talked in all high school, and we never spoke through all of university. And then we matched on Tinder in 2015. And she's like, by the way, I went to your high school. I'm like, I have no idea. And we dated for a while, and then we broke up in 2016. And then basically in 2019 till today, we picked back up, not dating, but as really, really good friends. It just took a few years to reach that point. And she is someone who gets it. She just gets it. And anyone knows, when somebody gets it. I don't need to explain that. So she gets it. She gets the life thing. And she's such a support and deals with obviously her own struggles. And we just understand each other. Empathy's always there. Love is always there, and understanding. So my empathy hero is Jess.
Wonderful. I'm so grateful you have Jess in your life, Scott. That's wonderful.
Me too.
Well, Scott, obviously you mentioned this sort of, you taking some time off, but is there a place where you want to sort of connect with people, a place that you want to share, a website, et cetera, with the people, with the Feely humans?
You know what? The best thing to probably do, because my realization last week really was depression to expression is gone. That phase, it's, what no longer serves us. And that was I have now finally living the depression, moving into the expression piece. And it hit me so hard. I'm like, wow, that's beautiful that I'm actually going through it. And I'm not just talking about it. Wow. And I made up that name 10 years ago. So what they can do is literally just Google my name, Scott Ste Marie. And they can find me on Instagram, and they can scottstemarie.com too. It goes to the same website.
Great.
Scott Ste Marie is my name if they're that curious to look me up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you for being a part of You Me Empathy. I appreciate your vulnerability and your courage to be here.
I'm really glad we did this. Thanks a lot, Noon.
You're very welcome. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring, pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You Me Empathy.